Hey, what did you talk about this week?
Welcome back to the Corporate Kitchen. I'm your host, Tiger. Today we are bringing those mashed potatoes and gravy from the kitchen to the table. This week we've been talking about mentorship. We have our 3 takeaways from the kitchen of it's a type of relationship. Number 2, reverse mentoring. And 3, a book is your best mentor. Before we get started telling stories, I did want to circle back to the third takeaway of a book is your best mentor. While we were in the kitchen, I mentioned that a mentor is the level of advocacy of someone who talks with you. And then I said that a book is your best mentor. Both are still true. One thing I want to bring to your attention is what you do when you read a book. It's not always about business books. It's about any type of literature that you decide to read and how amazing you as a human really are. If you're reading, for example, a Harry Potter book, even without seeing the movies, your mind and brain will picture what you're reading. If you're reading something fiction or nonfiction, your brain may give you those images in your head. When you're going through business type books, your brain will file the major takeaways from that book and remember it when you need to pull it out again. That's the conversation that's being had and the talk with between the mentor and the mentee. It's not your mouth that's doing the talking, it's your brain. And honestly, it's better, right? The best way you can talk is not with your mouth, with your ears or your brain. When you're reading a book, that information will funnel, your brain will react. If you read something that's really gory or something true crime that's very suspenseful, your brain may react and make your body do another reaction accordingly. That's the conversation the book is having with you. The romance novels, right? The 50 Shades of Grey. Those type of books that make certain people's bodies react, right? That you're having a conversation with the book by the way you're reacting, by the way your brain is telling your body to react without you saying a word. So that conversation is still being there. I wanted to make sure I closed the loop on that because I could see how there may be confusion of how does a book talk with you. Conversation still happens there. It just doesn't happen verbally. And that's okay. We want that brain working. We want the gears turning in the brain. So that's amazing. The current book I'm talking with is How Democracies Die by Stephen Levinsky and Daniel Zilblatt. If you're conversing with a book right now, let me know on Instagram. One time I was at Martha's Vineyard for a conference. It was for a forum. First time I ever been to Martha's Vineyard. First time I ever been to this forum. It was pretty cool. There were a lot of guest speakers. Some were doing TED Talk type monologue. There were panel discussions. At the end of each session, there was an opportunity for all of us to talk to the speaker one-on-one, to ask a question. This is exciting, right? Now we go back to last week. Let me get my introduction ready. Is my threshold of good going to be met here? For me personally, there were so many people there that I wasn't really worried about trying to make a good impression. What I was really worried about is I probably won't ever see this person again. What do I want to know from them? Is there any burning questions that I have that didn't come up during their speech that I can ask? So when it was my turn to ask a question in line, I waited in line, came up. I gave my little introduction. And my question was actually, what are you reading? What are you currently reading? The person appreciated the question and told me that they were reading a fiction book. I don't remember the name of the book off the top of my head, but it wasn't any type of business book. It wasn't any type of literature related to business. It was a guilty pleasure. And this person followed that up with, don't always focus on the business books. Those are one of one, right? McKinsey has all these books out there, the books on negotiating, the books on finance, the books on project management. They're all standard. There's nothing truly unique in terms of the number of people that are engaged with them about those books. Those are the standard. If you want to learn about that skill set, that's going to be in the top 10 of everyone's list to read to strengthen that skill. I was told, open up your genres. Start reading stuff that is unrelated to business and enjoy it, or find what you do enjoy. That will help boost your creativity. We are not in the consultant world. If you are, you will resonate with the fact that you have standards, you have a way about doing things, you have a methodology, it's written, and that's what you follow. For the rest of us, we can be some level of creative to drive and develop solutions. Therefore, we need some type of creativity bone. If we're all reading the same book, we're all given the same speech, we all heard the same thing. Sure, there may be different interpretations, but it's of the same literature. Whereas if a quarter of the group hears one thing, another quarter hears another quarter hears a third, the last quarter hears a fourth thing, those are different ideas that now can come together, most likely different perspectives in each idea. So take the 4 different ideas, let's just double it for simplicity. There's going to be at least 8 different perspectives. That diversity in mindset will breed the creativity. So the first action I want you to take in regards to your mentorship is know what you want out of it. Whether it's a book, whether it's a human, know what you want out of that mentorship. Don't approach it as this person is a mentor to people that I know, or I know that this person is an important executive. Know what you want out of that relationship. If you're going to put effort into it to really lay the foundation and make sure it grows into something that makes you and the mentor more successful, enjoy that relationship and know what it's for. There are a lot of people that don't have green thumbs, but still try to make gardens, that try to grow herbs because they want to do that. And they will get better at that. But at least having that desire of knowing what you want to do will help overcome some of the challenges that come with the activity. If you try to enter a mentorship and you don't know what you want out of it, it's kind of like, why are you doing it? We don't have a lot of time on this planet as it is. Why are you wasting not only your mentor's time, but your time too? There are a lot more things that you can do to be productive. A lot of companies have some companies call them employee resource groups, other calls them business resource groups. Some may call them employee network groups, but basically there are small, well, I won't call them small because depending on the size of your company, it could be very large, but there are groups of minorities or a subset of the corporate population that forms an organization to help boost that subgroup. That organization normally comes with some opportunity to network. In those networking bits, you may be able to identify the mentor. That happened for me. A lot of the mentors that I have came from those type of organizations. At the current company that I am now, my two most important mentors to advocate for my career came from one of those groups. There was a mini fireside chat breakout session type thing that they did. I was in the group, met the two leaders, and I continued the dialogue after that fireside chat. And I'm very grateful for it because I still talk to both of those people today. One of them retired. And when this person retired, they reached out to me and said, "Hey, here's my number. Call me anytime." And it's so funny because when someone gives you their number and you're a lower labor grade and they're like, leadership up top, senior leadership, and they say, "Call me anytime," you're like, or at least you can feel like, is that really true? Like, do you really mean that? Obviously, let's do a disclaimer. Don't abuse the number, of course, right? If someone is trusting you with their contact information, you text them before 9 a.m., strike one, right? We don't do that, right? Just respect people's boundaries. However, most of them really mean it. And I can call this person up at any point in time that I need. They will answer and help me, despite being retired. I find that so awesome, but it's also a reflection of the relationship that I cultivated with that person, right? I was able to do my introduction in the fireside chat, and then I realized, wow, if I want to grow my career, you are a great person to know. Therefore, I am going to lay the seeds to set the foundation of this relationship during the fireside chat and make sure that I do the work to cultivate it over the next couple months, right? As we mentioned, relationships don't happen instantaneously. It takes time to build them. And I spent the time doing that. Got on the calendar, reoccurring meeting. I made sure that in those meetings, I focused on what I wanted to know, but also checking in. With the part of what I wanted to know, I did my research beforehand. I really did my research beforehand, and that's the second story I really want to talk about. When I was at a certain company, there was a program to partner interns, not co-ops, interns, with salaried people. I signed up to be a mentor, and I got a mentee. Met the mentee. This was probably, in my career, the third mentee that I've ever had. First one as an intern. The other two were actually in the company. They were just younger than I was at the time. Well, they're still younger now, but younger than I am. First time I had an intern. As I do with everyone that I mentor, during the first conversation, I ask, what do you want to get out of this mentorship? What is it that you're seeking? What is it that you want to know? The answer that I got was that this person wanted to meet with the highest ranking person in the function. So the vice president of the function that he was working. And I thought to myself, that's ambitious. You're an intern. You're only here for 2 months. That person's likely going to do some type of all hands with the interns that may be your moment to do your introduction and try to connect. At that time, I personally wasn't sure how I was going to be able to set that up. So I was thinking, how do I even support my mentee? But I didn't leave it at the surface there. I drilled down. Why do you want to meet with this person? The answer that I got, very common answer that you hear of why people want to meet with leadership. I want to know how they got to their position. The approach that I took with this mentee was to attempt to educate on the entire function, right? You want to meet with the head honcho, but you didn't know who sits between you and that person. That was my attempt to say, if you want to meet with this person, let's prepare you. Let's go over the organizational chart, make sure that you understand what functions exist. So if the leader says, I had to spend time over here, you know what that actually means. I can tell from my meetings, it wasn't received the best, in my opinion. It was more desire to have that face time with the leader. I was able to connect this person with not the highest level, but a couple levels lower, but at least, one of the senior leaders in the organization. My understanding is that the conversation went well, but at the end of the day, I wasn't the best mentor for this person because they didn't get what they ultimately wanted. Fast forward the following year, the cycle kind of hit the same exact way. I signed up for the program, had the mindset of understood what happened last year. I'm going to take the lessons learned, try to do better. Got another mentee, different college too. Had the same one. I want to meet with the most senior leader in the organization. And it made me sit down and do some self-reflection. Like, was I like that when I interned? Is that what they teach us at school? Did we take it's who you know too far? Because I had the same conversation of, hey, do you understand the levels that are between you and the person you want to meet with? No, this person didn't, of course. And I'm like, okay, we're going to take a different approach. Your question that you want to ask, what you want to know from a mentorship with the most senior leaders, how do they get to where they want to be? Let's answer that. Let's pull up LinkedIn. Let's look at this leader's profile. And we did that live. We did that together. I pulled up LinkedIn. We looked at the profile. Here are all the roles that this person took. And not all leaders have like all their roles filled out. Some may just have when they were executive. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's not. In this case, it was all the roles, even before executive, were there. I showed the LinkedIn page and we went over all the roles individually, what it does, what it did back then, what it does now, who's the leader of that organization today. Would that be a functional area that you're interested in? That conversation went so well because the mentee got the information they were seeking. It may not have been from the person that they wanted it from, but they got the information they were seeking. And I knew that it worked well because the question that I got at the end was, what do I ask the senior person now? You explained this well. What do I ask? And that kind of put a smile on my face like, wow, okay, I was able to speak for the most senior leader, right? I felt good about myself, but also it was, I fulfilled what you were seeking. And that made me happy, right? I used what was available to prepare myself, to prepare the mentee for a possible conversation with the senior leader. And in that process, we were able to answer what they wanted. Cool. So what's next, right? And that creates the second action. Be a better mentee. When we're a mentor, we're trying hard to help the mentee as much as possible. One thing that you have to understand with some people, especially when it comes to like leaders, they mentor a lot of people. A lot of people. I have a mentor that uses Fridays to meet with as many mentees as possible. It's hard to do it Monday through Thursday. So they have taken the approach of using a lot of the time on Friday to meet with mentees. When you hear that someone has a lot of mentees, you may be intimidated and think to yourself, oh, I have to stand out. You don't have to stand out. Number one, you need to know what you want to get out of that relationship. But two, you need to be a better mentee. Recently, I had a conversation with a peer about this specifically and how we haven't driven enough change in the organization because we're not asking the right questions. We're asking questions that we could find the answers to. When we're attempting to ask questions to mentors, it's not always about it being the most challenging question or, ooh, let me stump them with a really good one. That's not the goal. If you want something, right? Let's say, for example, I want to have a role in this organization. Why are you organization A? Let's say organization A. Why are you asking questions about organization B? The first question should be, are there any roles that are going to open up in organization A? Have to be better as a mentee of approaching mentors with what you want and what you truly need and see what they can do. It is a relationship. If they can't provide it, then you move on. I've been in multiple mentorships as the mentee, in which the first meeting that I had with the potential mentor, I knew this is not going to be it. I came in with an idea of what I wanted to get out of it, flexible to that idea on the first meeting, had the first meeting, and realized, okay, this is also the last meeting, right? Be okay with that. It's perfectly okay to have that introduction, and on the mentors end, it didn't meet your threshold of good. So now you're going to reject that relationship. That's okay. Don't do it publicly. Don't try to do the rejection publicly. Soft rejection is the silent treatment. No one is going to chase you and say, hey, you didn't set up the follow-up meeting with me. If they do, they might want something out of you, and that's kind of a nice position to be in. But most people, if it didn't work out the first time, that's okay. We all have our time constraints. If both parties are not going to interact and maintain that relationship, it's okay for it to fall off. Reason for the season, right? And all of this is boiling down to the last action. This is what finishes off the potatoes. Own the relationship. I'm going to tell you a story about the best mentor I have. I met by pure chance. I was working at a company and an opportunity presented itself. Job opportunity. No one was really vying for it. Not a lot of applicants. I heard about it from a peer. This person mentioned it to me and said, hey, would you be interested? Should I throw your name in the hat? I said, sure, why not? Seemed like a no-brainer for me. That information got to the hiring group, and I got an interview scheduled. Fun corporate America interviews, you got to have multiple rounds of this. Yay. One of the people that I interviewed with walked in, and this is like, if this person's listening, you know exactly who you are. And I want to say that you are like literally the best person that I know. And I appreciate you so much. This person didn't even want to talk about work. I came in and I got probed with questions that were really testing my personality and how well I can interact with different personalities. However, based off of the conversation and the answers that I gave, we realized that we connect also on a personal level, that we grew up from the same areas, that we kind of know the same people. And it's like, oh, wow, I know you're interviewing me, but friend, friend. So I didn't get the job. I was told this by that specific person that I did not get the job. However, I was directed at that point by that person, this relationship is not over with me. I will personally make sure that I take care of you. First time I've ever heard that in my career. I didn't even know how to react. I read the email and I'm like, I don't know if this is cool. I don't know if this means like, oh, Tiger, you made it. Or if this was like normal. I was taken back. I was like, okay, sounds good. Over the course of the next couple years, I got to know the person better. Definitely was instrumental in creating opportunities for me in the future. And someone I still talk to this day. What was really cool about this person is that they owned the relationship from the very beginning. They said, I will take care of you. You are in my circle. I am going to take care of you. How I knew this person wasn't kidding was when I left the company they were at. They're still at the same company. I'm not at that company. When I sent in my 2 weeks notice, I sent this person an IM. Hey, I have some bad news. Reply was, call me. And by the way, like, this is a vice president level person that I'm talking about. It's not like it was a manager while I was like an associate manager type thing. No, this is like me being a runt individual contributor talking to a vice president. Sent this person an IM, got a response, call me. Got on the phone, explained what was going on, what was happening, that I was choosing to go to a different company, the company that I'm actually at now. And here's the kicker, right? Here's the owning of the relationship that this person did. I was so shocked to hear this. The question that I got was not, what can we do to keep you, right? I got the why are you leaving question, of course, because we didn't talk about it previously. So we went through that whole spiel, but it wasn't a how do we keep you, right? Because this person is the best listener I've ever known. Listens and asks the question after listening. So once we had the conversation of why am I leaving, there was no reason to ask, how can we get you to stay? Because that was answered of why I was leaving. The follow-up question that was asked is, how do we stay in touch? How do we stay in touch? That was amazing to hear, right? Usually when you have a friend for a season or a season for a reason in corporate America, it's related to being within the company. Having a connection that you've cultivated that maintains even when you leave is amazing. That only happens if you own the relationship. And my mentor took ownership of the mentorship relationship that we have. And that was just totally reinforced with that question of how do we stay in touch? And we do. We still go to lunch now. I mean, I can't go into their building and this person can't come in mine, obviously. So we meet outside the office. This person has seen my child. This person knew me when I was getting married, bought me a wedding gift, just really integrated into my life, both on a professional and personal level. When you have people that own the relationship like that, hold them close because they are putting in the effort and they are contributing in way and showing it in ways that should fully alert you that this is real, that this isn't seasonal, that this isn't temporary. This is real, and they are here to be in your life. You won't get too many of those people as you go through your entire career. They're few and far in between, and it should be like that, right? Keep your circle small. You don't want to be friends with the whole world. Keep that circle of trust as small as possible. Last story alert. Last story that I'm going to tell you. I can't believe I'm giving out one of the secrets, but I'll give out one of the secrets. That's fine. One of the best relationships that you can have from a mentorship perspective. You want to guess? Take a guess. Who is it? Who is it in the company? All companies have this. Who's the best person to talk to? It's not the leader. It's administrative assistants. Some of you are probably listening going, Tiger, shut up. Why would you say that? And others are like, why? That doesn't make sense. Administrative assistants to leaders are so critical because they are the heartbeat to their brain. They handle all the operations for what the executive's body does. What does that mean? They handle the calendar. They usually handle the travel arrangements. They are directly dictating where that executive body is going. If you want to have a meeting with an executive, you got to go through the admin. If you want that meeting to be off-site versus on-site, the admin will have more insight into that than the executive will. They just follow their calendar. It's really out of their control. It's technically in their control, but really they're not managing their own calendar. They don't have the time for that. My favorite mentor that I was bringing up earlier, I had a great relationship with the admin. So much so that I would just visit. I would just walk up and visit and say hi and see how things were. A lot of good information that you get from those people, especially when it comes to talking with someone, right? Trading ideas. They have a little bit of insight. Obviously, you can't push them too far. They can't be in an uncomfortable position because they may know stuff that they can't share, and you have to be okay with that. At the same time, though, they're kind of a neutral party. They support the leader, but they're not in the room to make decisions. Therefore, they are a good ear. If the executive's having a bad day and you want to present an idea, the admin would be a great person to talk to say, hey, how's this person doing today? Do you think it'll be okay if this ran through? And they may tell you, not today, please, not today. Or they're feeling pretty good, go on in there. A couple times I would walk in and see this admin, and the response I would get is, oh, you want me to schedule your next meeting? Like, oh, okay, sure. Why not? It's like, you guys still going offsite for lunch? Absolutely. Yeah, no, that sounds great. The offsite for lunch was always at Chick-fil-A. Spicy Deluxe. Always calls my name. So whether you're the mentor or the mentee in these relationships, own it. Own it. Again, time is so valuable. We're all constrained with it. If it's worth putting the effort into it, do it and own it. It should be fruitful for both parties. And neither of us like wasting our time, right? So let's make it worthwhile. Oh, I just remembered. I should tell you about...
Hey, you said last story. Can you wrap this up?
Oof. Okay. I enjoyed working on this menu item with you this week, but let's come to an end while it's still hot. Remember, the ending to one story is the beginning of another. There will be more in store next week at the Corporate Kitchen. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Tiger. Until next time.